Oh, Jos, you have an update on the Stubs project.
Yes. So you might have. So I've recently released an update on the 1.24.1 stubs. That was rather delayed because I was actually trying to figure out something else, and that's because, well, there have been several discussions on can we use the stubs as the well, the base for documentation. And what I found is that when I started parsing all the documentation into stubs, that we were essentially missing out on all the typing for all the parameters and all the return times because they were simply never mentioned in the documentation in a machine readable format. Right? I wrote up quite a bit of code to try and parse that, and it was, well, subpar, right? It was not wrong, so I just plastered on everything else just to make it work. Over the last half year, I've been working on integrating all those details. And so what I've now done is I've created what I call the reference stubs, right, which are specific to a specific version of MicroPython, which do contain a lot more detail. I would not say all, right? There are still undocumented parts of the API that are, well, some are lost in documentation and quite often not even in documentation, but only readable from the C source or from the Python source. And I now have a system where I read the documentation, generate my first, well, documentation stubs from that, and then further enrich them with rich type information to create much better stubs. In that, I found that, well, I essentially as MicroPython has its own standard lib, right? And the type stubbers never created a library for that. I needed to create my own type shed, if you will, right? So there's now a MicroPy shed, which has, let's say, the common types such as the VFS, interrupts, and that sort of stuff, so that I can share those type definitions between different modules. So that solved a lot of problems, right? And that's why, well, the recent stops should be better if you use them, right? Significantly better. But because they're stronger types, right? They are more opinionated, as Black would say. They are probably also throwing several false positives where either the API differs between different ports or boards even, and between type checkers. I've been arm wrestling with both Pyrite or Pyrite Pylans from one side and MyPy from the other side, and there's just stuff that they do very, very differently. So there's still work to be done on MyPy. That's not my primary type checker, so that's kind of, it's lagging behind a little bit. And Rough is coming up into the game as well, right? So I plan on adding validation for Pyrite as well. So with all that, I've now also been able to create stubs for the WASM version, right? In the last few days. So I'm not sure if people that are coding in PyScript even have access to a type checker. I've briefly looked into that. It would be possible to add it on even in the online version, but that's work still to be done, right? At least the type stubs are out there now. So that was it. Thanks for the time.